I hope you're doing fantastic. If you've been hit by the recent storms, I hope that you're staying warm. And if any of you are in California and affected by the fires, I hope that you are safe or have been able to evacuate and you and your loved ones are okay. I just want to get that out of the way because there's nothing more important than that, and staying safe. Also, if I sound a bit crazy this episode, I apologize. I'm extremely congested, and I have been for about 2 months because I find that in the winter, I am just perpetually, I don't know. I perpetually have a bit of a sickness, and it won't go away, but I also, can't dip out of school necessarily. And I will say one thing about that is, people are looking at me, and I'm a bit uncomfy with that because I don't want them to think that they're going to get sick, but also I'm just trying to live and, graduate, as we know. And that's basically what we're going to be talking about today. Welcome back to Onward, y'all. Make sure you check out the blog, incite238.com, and the YouTube channel in the description. There's going to be a new video coming in about a week. I apologize for the little break, but that'll kind of be explained in the video. Anyway, let's get right into the podcast because we have so much to talk about because, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, I went back to finish school and finish high school despite my 19 years of age. So let me start by saying that, when I entered residential the first time, I made the decision to repeat. I've talked about that a bit. I have an episode or two kind of talking about the decision-making process and how I came to that, and also, the reluctance and later almost guilt that came with it, in spite of knowing it was ultimately the right decision for myself. However, we're here, and we finally made it, and you might be like, why are you going back in January? And again, I touched on this a bit last week, I believe, or a few weeks ago, but I left the school that I transferred to because ultimately, let's just say it wasn't the right fit, and some things didn't work out, and there were certain reasons that I went there for, mental health sake, let's say, and the school wasn't meeting that need, and that wasn't the school's fault. They just felt like they couldn't necessarily help me, and so here I am now, going back to the school that I left, feeling so kind of neglected by the other kids and my peers, and having so much tumultuous history with friendship and stuff like that, and feeling very alone, and I'm in the grade lower, and people are aware of that, and the kids that I kind of mentored when they were freshmen and I was a junior are just one grade below me, and I think they're a bit startled to see maybe the first time. But that doesn't mean it's an excuse not to say hey and kind of just break the ice, and we're going to be getting into that and more today. So let's get more into the episode. So as I said, we're back in school. It's pretty fire. Not more than I expected. I think I really just generally missed this routine a bit of having somewhere to be, and also I do love learning. I think everyone does. It just matters what you're learning and how you're learning. That's such a big factor, and also the people you're around, and how you're doing at the time, your well-being. It all plays a role. What you're eating, all of that, and so now I'm back, better than ever, you could say, and I'm really happy to as I said, be learning it. It's very fulfilling for me. I'm taking a lot of English and history classes that I haven't necessarily had the experience of taking before, such as more government and creative writing-based classes as opposed to just analytical and straight-up history. Not that that's not important, but I think able to apply that history. At the school I was at previously, I was retaking an AP European history, which still, it's interesting. I'm not saying it's not, but it's also stuff that I learned back in 10th grade, and while I enjoyed it, and I don't think it's, I think there's absolute value in going deeper into it, I would prefer at this point to be applying all that I've learned in all those years of history to inference and make kind of hypothetical decisions about what's going on in the world right now, because ultimately I think that's why we learn history, is to learn from it, right? Learn to learn, whatever, but it's true. And as for my creative writing, I think I was, to a degree, rather creatively stifled before, just because I was literally so down in the dumps and doing work was so hard. But in 10th and 11th grade, I really discovered that writing was something I had a passion for. And when I read particular books such as Toni Morrison's Just Kids, whoa! No! When I read certain books such as Toni Morrison's Beloved with a particular teacher who just, I think, did a great job teaching it, as well as, I just sounded quite country, as well as Patti Smith's Just Kids, I recognized writing as more of an art, not just a means of an end for communication, but that form of communication is to instill emotions in something bigger. And I think I've always known that. However, those books just inspired me and found me at a time, and were, like, Beloved, for example, was written in such a way that I hadn't yet known, and I hadn't really had experience with magical realism or other main elements of the story. And also I think that it's just like in figurative writing styles and perspectives and all that, it's just so beautifully written. And then Just Kids really touched me at a time when I was having like struggles of my own that, you know, weren't the same as Patty and Robert's. However, hearing some struggles that I could relate to, or not the struggles that I could relate to, however, the emotions that those struggles like brought up were the same that I was experiencing for other reasons. And these people were making art through all of that, which is something that I've always loved but had stopped doing, and they never stopped really doing it. They were finding ways to pursue their passions no matter what came up, no matter what they had. You know, they'd rather make their art than eat because that's their sustenance, you know? And I'm not saying, you know, that's healthy, but I'm just saying I think there's something very beautiful in commitment to just doing what you love and allowing yourself to be fully immersed with the things and also the people that inspire you and bring you joy. And I've shared that book with so many people, and I've read it so many times when I've been down, like, either going through changes of my own or particularly just difficult times, and there's such a comfort in aspects of it. And obviously it's a tragic story. However, hearing Patty make such, not light, but find comfort even after the loss, and being able to remember someone in such a grateful way, and as if in ways they're still alive, or if you remember someone so much, they're still alive with you in a way every day. And I think that's very beautiful. And, you know, I think everyone can take a different meaning from that, but that's some of what really touched me the initial time I read it, and continues to this day. So, yeah, and I think it's funny, I was in school, and basically I'm in the, like, I think it's, like, special, I don't know what it's called, but, like, it's not, like, a learning resource thing, but it's, like, if you need maybe, like, mental health support, there's, like, a psychologist that's there, and there's less people and stuff, and it's been nice to be able to take breaks throughout the day, not necessarily leaving class, but just being able to pause on my own and not having to hide in the bathroom necessarily, because, yeah, I was there, and, you know, I think in the past, maybe it would be something I was a bit scared to do, to have somewhere designated for that space. It's hard to accept help sometimes. However, I've learned that it's not a bad thing at all, and it's just what you need, and there's strength in accepting help sometimes and being able to admit that, so that's cool too. But that's been a really nice aspect, and I've been able to kind of, in this like detox of school that I've had, essentially, I'm very refreshed now and working with this tenacity. And again, I think it's a matter also of the classes that I'm in and the people I'm around, but this tenacity that's letting me get a lot more work done in school and just approach it with such freshness and vigor and excitement. And it's really motivating for me, because as someone that's always, and I'm not saying this is positive, but found validation in school because I couldn't necessarily find it in friends or other relationships, when I started to struggle in school, that it really broke me down. And I think if you're an athlete that gets hurt, for example, you kind of understand what that's like. And I'm not saying it's the same, because there's a difference there. School's not necessarily a choice, but it's also something that I really did enjoy, and I lost that sense of enjoyment, and no matter what you're doing, I think it's heartbreaking in any sense, and to lose a part of yourself, and to realize that, and to yearn for what you've lost, and you can't necessarily get back right now, and you don't know when you're going to get it back, is very scary. But I can say that I've kind of made it to the other side, and despite that fear and all the anxiety and being paralyzed by it for a bit, and I will say that wasn't the best, but it is what it is. I've still gotten through, and I'm facing the place that I kind of ran away from every day, but it's intentional, and I want to prove to myself that it's possible, and I'm okay. It's okay, and I am okay. And, no one's necessarily asking to hang out, but I don't need that. And also, I don't really care. I have certain friends like me and Annalisa who fill me with so much joy, and I'm pursuing hobbies again, like crafts and, YouTube and the podcast that really just make me happy, and anything like that, or cooking and the blog, or enjoying time with my family in a very present way. All of that means so much more than just, getting an invite to somewhere that I would be people watching and entirely uncomfortable the entire time, because I would be perceiving that others are perceiving me in a way that was negative, and that wasn't the case, but I was so set in that mindset, and I thought maybe a bit more because I was going back to back to people that didn't know me as much, that it would be a bit easier. And I think, I forget what my therapist called it, but basically, it's an unintentional blindness, or confidence kind of in an outlook, and not in a bad way, but kind of discounting the former negatives. Oh, maybe it just, no, never mind. Discounting the former negatives of a certain experience and a related experience to what is happening. And I and my therapist were definitely a bit frightful of that being the case, I'm not gonna lie. However, I think deep down I knew ultimately I'd be okay, because I had to be okay. And sometimes I don't think that's a bad thing, whether it's confidence or necessity. At least that motivation is coming from somewhere. And yeah, a lot of it was, and at the same time wasn't, in my head, because what was in my head was absolutely based on real experience, but it was it was inflated based on emotions and certain feelings of alienation and things like that. So I fully recognize that, and it's only natural for people to judge a bit, or at least question where I went for 2 years, and I was behind. I was literally sitting maybe 2 feet behind 4 people who as I said, I was a mentor to freshmen, and they were the incoming people that were training, and I'd only see them a few times because I left so soon after. However, I was just a few feet behind them, and they're like, "Did you hear Emily was back? Did you hear Emily was back?" And I don't think they were saying it in a bad way. I think, as I said, I was gone for 2 years, or a year and a half. It's quite shocking to see me again, because I didn't think I was ever going back, and I'm sure they never thought I did, and they didn't know where I was or any of that. But based on my former experiences and perceptions and feeling towards those experiences, I genuinely thought, oh, they have to be saying it in a negative way, and not a gossipy way, but what are they inferring that occurred over that period of time that is or isn't true, and is kind of a defamation of my character. And it really doesn't matter in the end, because I'm with these people for 4 months, and also, they could choose, any of these people can choose to know me or not know me, and at this point I think my best friend in school is a freshman, and I was asked if I was a freshman, despite the fact that I should be a sophomore in college. But we move on. We struggle in chat, Addie, because you're a G. But yeah, we send each other stuffed animal vlogs. It's pretty slay, and you should be jealous. But yeah, I'm gonna get into some of the observations that I've had while being back, in addition to those initial thoughts and general conclusions about myself. But one of the things that I think off that, and that's so important, is just people literally really don't care. Rip the freaking Band-Aid off. I kind of mentioned this with the previous freshmen who are now juniors, but we were all walking in the parking lot, and I wanted to say hi, and I didn't the first week I was back, and it was weird because we definitely made eye contact, but I was so in my head that maybe it was a good idea not to say anything to a certain extent. However, thinking about what they could have thought, or like, why didn't I say hi? That was so weird. Blah blah blah. Like, oh, you're so antisocial. You make all of this happen to you. Well, okay, Emily, just say hi next time. So I go back on Monday, and I like say hi to these kids, and I'm just kind of explaining, yeah, I'm back to finish school up, and none of them really care, and if they do, so what? I don't care that much, and it doesn't really mean anything to them or about them because we're so young, and I think any of us can make decisions based on kind of other people, based on assumptions, I guess, and it doesn't mean anything. And also, people change. Literally in the last 2 years, I think I've changed so much, and I really don't think I'm the person that I was when I left the school, and that it's helping me return with a new confidence, because I was such a shattered and rattled version of myself. But it's true. I was so broken down and isolated so many aspects of my personality, and kind of just forced them down because I believed they were wrong, even if that wasn't even what other people were thinking. That now that I've returned and I've been through programs where I've met people that literally just know me for me and nothing else, because all I'm bringing to these places is my physical being and, one bag of clothes. But, that gave me a really big confidence. And I mentioned this a bit in the last episode about how it even encouraged me to get back on the podcast and stuff like that. But just by being who I was there and making these friends, it didn't matter what had happened before or where I was going or what people would say, because these were also people that I knew had very real experiences, also some of which were similar to mine, and that could understand me more than the people that I was associating with or getting exposure to, talking to, just in my given town. And that's no one's fault. It's literally I'm placed on the planet somewhere, and I'm forced proximity trope, but literally that's it. You're plopped in a random sampling of such a big population of people, and if for me, in a county, in a state, in a country, in a continent, and on a planet, unlike others, that are just floating in space, and some of that's to say there's kind of hope outside of that, and if you move or if you explore other places, but also just literally getting out of your particular school or your grade pool or your town. If you can go to another town to do an extracurricular, you're going to meet a whole new set of people that likely, they've never met you before, so it's kind of a fresh slate, and that could be great just to take some of the edge off for yourself, at least for me. But also, their attitudes and their way of life, even though it's only a town away, might be slightly different in a way and have a particular quirk that you enjoy and that you identify with a bit more, and that it just makes it a bit more graceful, I think, of an entry into that social scene, if that makes sense. And even, as I said, having one or two strong friendships can outweigh the negatives of 100 bad people, I think. And, I think when you're in an isolation mode and that protective mode, that doesn't necessarily feel like it's the case. However, I am confident now that I'm in that and that I've experienced both sides of that, and when I've had these friends choosing not necessarily to engage with them, it's the amount that makes me genuinely happier that I should, just as a good friend. It makes me detract, and it makes me less of a complete person and a kind person and snappy with people, and I don't like that. So, and it also just, as I said, kind of proves that things are okay, and if you have just a few people to talk to, it's so life-changing, and just having someone that understands is so life-changing, because you just feel so much less alone. It sounds so cliche, because it's true, I think, and I think I took it for granted for a period of time, and kind of not, and it's going to sound bad for a second, but it's not like taking advantage of that resource and actually choosing to talk to my friend and express what was genuinely going on deep down. And for so long, even though I'm thinking about one friend that I've known since middle school and that I've always kind of considered my best friend and the one person I could tell anything to. But the truth is, I didn't feel like I could tell them, or I wasn't letting myself tell them anything. I was just letting myself tell that one person the most. And a few months ago, I brought that up. And I think after that, we both, at least I and subconsciously, whatever, made an effort to eliminate that and to be more honest and to let each other in more. And just this weekend, she actually kind of said how she feels like we're getting closer. And I don't think I've ever heard that from anyone. I'm not going to lie. But to hear that from a friend, who I've known so long, but also who I've chosen to reconnect with and who I've been putting the effort into, and most importantly, like someone who I've never been the most sentimental with, it really meant so much. And I kind of felt speechless for a hot sec when we were FaceTiming. And then I think, my instinct was to joke and not necessarily be the most serious in the moment. But my therapist pointed that out to me once, and I hadn't really noticed lately that was my tendency. However, in that moment, I really wanted to be present, as they say, and mindful, and show my appreciation for the effort that both of us had put in. And also for just my friend's kind words and everything she's done for me as of late and always. And, it was definitely harder, I think, than it has been, and than I wanted it to be straight up and also accept that I have never heard that before, which is kind of weird. But by doing that, it made me feel so much better after. And it sounds silly, but it's just true. And being honest about your feelings really, I think, is such a powerful thing. And it definitely requires strength. So it's okay. I get why people are afraid of it. But it's not worth being afraid of, because I just think the resounding gratefulness and earnest relationships that come from it is so much more worth it. And then you kind of have this confidence to continue to talk to them about things that are serious, or when I need help, I know that I can talk to these people, because not only have they understood things in the past and they'll have a bit of background that they haven't necessarily have before, but I've had the practice of actually expressing things and as I said, being earnest and saying things and how I feel. And it's a weird skill to practice, I think, especially as you get older. And I'm not old, but I don't think it's something I struggled with when I was in middle school or elementary school. And so to be an adult and to be struggling with that, or a legal adult at least, was kind of a harder thing to admit to myself. But I think that it's been very much so worth it. So yeah. Another thing that I kind of just wanted to mention is, I don't know why, and I know I'm jumping back a bit here, I don't know why I thought people would just kind of forget who I was. I think I was hoping a lot of people when I went back to school would just forget who I was. Obviously, that, it's not the case. And so part of that was with, as I said, the ripping of the Band-Aid. But also, I, saw one of the teachers I had who I met with when I was in forensic, kind of knew what was going on. And I made eye contact with him and darted the other way in fear and was just kind of because, scary. I don't know why. And I don't know why all of a sudden my voice box closes up. But all of a sudden it becomes stone shut, and I need to pee myself when I see people and run away. So, but the next day, my new public policy teacher was telling me that he ran into her classroom and was asking if I was back, I guess. And I don't know. It just felt good to kind of be missed. And I don't know if that's weird, but to know you have any kind of impact. And as I said, like, school was somewhere I found validation, and as someone that especially loves history, and that class meant so much to me because it was the first class where, and I know it's silly, like, we just kind of used so many primary source documents, and so I felt like the quality of learning and the way we were learning was so much greater, and also my teacher just clearly was so passionate and cared so much, and I just appreciated that. And at such a hard point in my life, that class genuinely just kind of was bringing me more joy than anything else, and making a colorful rainbow study guide for everyone in that class was very worth it to me, and felt like the only way I was going to get access to friendship. So, that was kind of what was going on at that time. But anyways, hearing that just kind of made me happy, and, I've been meeting with my former dean, who's still my dean, but I've just really missed meeting with her, and I think it's important, no matter who you find these relationships with, whether they're older, whether they're younger, whether they're a freshman, whether they're a teacher, just pursue the relationships and friendships that, like, just bring you joy, because a true, I think it's rare to find someone that you share a good amount of genuine interest with, and that you're not kind of just leaning into that forced proximity with to get to know, and only really getting along because I think things you've kind of been forced to accept. And that's not to say that people's friendships aren't real at all and based on real experience. I think it's clear to me that there's an abundance of superficiality and in more, like, slightly external friendships, and not necessarily your best friend, but just, the common fakeness and being, like, affectations to be nice to other people when you just want that because you think it's the proper rapport and you want that reputation. But, like, at this point, I'd so much rather someone just be honest and, like, kind of, or just not talk to me than pretend to be nice to me and say they want to hang out all the time, and then I ask them for plans and they're never responding and accepting them, because at that point you kind of just feel, I don't know, like an empty bag of air. So, yeah. That, I believe, is all I have. Oh, no, it's not. I lied. I forgot we have the media and mediums of the week. Of course, this is a segment that I added last episode, and we're going to be continuing it because, you know what, this is a freaking legitimate podcast. So, our medium of the week is 3D printing. Now, obviously, we don't going to be contributing to global warming. However, I did 3D print Snoopy and Bunny cookie cutters. So, like, I don't know. I feel like right now the personal pros are outweighing the cons. I was kidding. But I will definitely be putting those to use. Whoa, I dropped a ring. I actually just dropped this ring that, it's basically a friendship ring with my best friend, and it's matching. And it sounds cheesy, but it's really bloody cute. Thank you. But yeah, 3D printing. Also, I'm a genius, essentially, right? As you may have been able to tell, and as you may know. And I came up with the wonderful idea of creating a selfie booth for my beloved bunny. Why? Because sadly my bunny doesn't have opposable thumbs. And I know that this is so tragic, and I think it's a really common grievance for many pet owners. Why don't my pets have opposable thumbs? Why can't my pets take pictures of themselves that are silly? This is sad. So I've decided that I'm going to do the world a favor and come up with a solution to this very common plague, and it's truly just, it's really had a tragic effect not only on the human race but on the pet population, and I think it brings down their confidence because some pets out there really do want that internet fame. So let me explain. When I was in like 5th grade, I loved the makerspace and I thought I'd be an engineer, but then I failed a math test and decided I would never do math again. I hated math. And now I'm sad about that, but it's okay because I ordered a freaking Raspberry Pi and some pressure sensors. So I'm making a little platform which is going to go under an interchangeable, like, floorboard, basically, that I can put different scrapbook paper or canvas on to be different floors, and then I'm painting some backgrounds and making basically a trifold to go around this floor so that when my bunny steps into the set, you know, and she steps on the whatchamacallit, the platform, it's gonna sense her little body, and then it's gonna send a trigger to my camera to freaking snap some pics. And you can hold your applause till the end, because I know it's pretty exciting, and I know you might be asking, like, how do I do this? I will be filming a video. You're welcome. No, I will be, but I also am going to be inviting Aunt Lisa to bring her little doggy, even though she thinks I'm absolutely insane for doing this. But you know what? It's the little things in life. Do what makes you happy. Do what made you happy as a kid, because that's all that's bringing me joy at this point. I can't lie. Stick your life up. Sticker your life up. Sticker, I hardly know her. Am I funny? No, but seriously, I've been busting out all, like, the old Hello Kitty and then strawberry shortcake stickers that my grandma used to get for me, and life really has improved since. As for my media of the week, I've been rewatching Curb Your Enthusiasm with my parents, and I think it's just very funny to see them react to it. So yeah, Larry David's just quite funny, and I think he reminds my family of a lot of our family members, you know, for a lot of reasons, and I just like watching shows with with my parents that they enjoy, because something about them, I don't know, there's just something very wholesome about it. Okay, I don't have that much else to say, and I really need to use the bathroom, so I'm gonna end this here. But thanks for tuning in, guys, and don't forget to follow and leave a 5-star review and blah blah blah, and subscribe to the mailing list for the blog. Love y'all. Bye.